1.2 million. The real number of valid signatures is about 875,000. But in order to get that many valid signatures where everything is correct, you have to get more. So we think it's 1.2 million. We're hoping that people do this accurately and know their own address and are registered to vote and that everything is valid. And then we would need a little less than 1.2 million. But we're shooting for maybe 2 million if we can get it. We want as many as we can get. This is a really important issue. And you can call the show. So call and talk to Scott and me right now. You can call us at 415-808-5600. 415-808-5600. Give us a call. If you've been impacted by Proposition 19 and you got one of these letters from the assessor with the sympathy cards in the mail and you don't know what to do about it, give us a call and tell us what's going on. And maybe we can give you some information that's hard to find otherwise. We are here to help you. We're the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and we are determined to fix this. You can help us by calling your friends, texting your friends, emailing your friends right this minute, and tell them they can listen in California wherever they are. If they're not in the Bay Area, they can listen on KSFO.com. We're on 560 KSFO and KSFO.com. And you can watch our backstage video on our website at repealthedeathtax.com. You can see that I'm at KABC in Los Angeles, the sister station, and Scott is in the office in Sacramento, and we're talking to you on KSFO. And happy to be here, happy to take your calls. Scott, tell us how everything is going with this. Are we getting enough petitions in?
We're getting a lot of petitions, Susan. I mean, we're doing better at this point than we were last time. Obviously, folks who have been following us on this before, for some time know that we've been trying this. We tried this a couple of times. This is our second time trying to get this on the ballot. And, the last time we did the big, long petition that you see out front of the grocery stores and those sorts of places. It was long. We didn't get enough. We went back to the drawing board. We said, how can we get this in more people's hands? We came to this idea of this 8.5 by 11 petition that prints out on a normal sheet of paper. You can print out at home. You can make copies, all those sorts of things. We think it's a game changer for us. And we're doing really well. We are doing better than we did at this point last time. But we still need a lot more. We haven't hit 25%. We need a lot more coming in. They're coming in larger numbers this week. They've come in a lot. I think people are getting their families to sign over Thanksgiving, but we need even more. Send them if you got them. We need them.
Send them if you got them. Now, Howard Jarvis told a story in his book, which I have right here. I'm mad as hell. I'm going to rattle it. You won't hear it on the radio, but I'm going to rattle the pages. My Rush Limbaugh, my inner Rush Limbaugh. I'm rattling the pages. This book, I'm Mad as Hell, talks about how all of the petitions came in at the very end, which is kind of alarming to us because we have a really small staff. So if you have petitions, send them in now, because it does take time. We have to sort them by county. All of the petitions have to go to the individual counties where people are registered to vote. So that's 58 counties in California. And we've got boxes standing by waiting for your petitions to come in. Give us a call at 415-808-5600. So one of the things that really people are very shocked by is that trusts do not protect you from this. So why did people think, Scott, that trusts protected them?
Well, because Prop 58 protected them. I mean, that's the truth of it. They thought their trust was protecting them all this time, but really it was Prop 58. It was the law before Prop 19 that was protecting.
So that was the parent-child transfer exclusion. The story on this, the history of it, is that Proposition 13 passed in 1978, and it put a cap on how much the assessed value of your property could rise, no matter what the market value did with inflation. So inflation could push your property value up 10%, but your assessed value after Prop 13 only went up 2%. So year after year, you had some limitation on how much your taxes were going to go up. That's what Prop 13 did. Before Prop 13, it was the market value times the tax rate, and the tax rate was a statewide average of 2.67%. If you can imagine having to pay 2.67% of the market value of your property every year as a condition of keeping it, that is a frightening thought. And people were losing their homes. And that's why Prop 13 eventually passed, got on the ballot on its 5th try, and it passed, and it has ever since controlled the rise in your property value for taxable purposes. But what was happening after 1978, by 1986, the situation was that people were inheriting property and the value had gone up a lot. And under the law the Revenue and Taxation Code that the legislature wrote, death and inheritance counted as a change of ownership, just as if it was an outside sale. And this was a very unwelcome surprise to a lot of people. And so upset were the people in California that the legislature proposed the parent-child transfer exclusion. The legislature did this, and then they passed it by a unanimous vote in each house. And it goes on the ballot in 1986, and it passes with 75% of the vote. The parent-child transfer exclusion for a home of any value, plus up to $1 million of additional property, taxable value of additional property. That was the law, that was in the Constitution. And 10 years later, another proposition extended the same rights to grandparents and grandchildren if the older parents were deceased, so that family property could still be passed without a tax increase. And both of those, it was Prop 58 in 1986 and Prop 193 in 1996, and they're both gone. They're wiped out of the Constitution by the fine print of Proposition 19. And we think voters just did not know this. In fact, we get calls all the time from people who just did not know that this was what they voted on. There was a lot of noise in the 2020 election, and people didn't read everything in the fine print, and it was really difficult. So now we're going to fix it. Now we're going to fix it. We tried last year, got about 400,000 signatures. It wasn't enough. So this year, as Scott said, we are doing the one-page petition. You can download it right now. If you're sitting anywhere near a computer at your house or your office, or you can go to an office store where they can download and print for you, repealthedeathtax.com. You can help by sending this link to everyone. You can text your whole list with this link saying, people do not want to lose the family home when somebody passes away. That's just vicious. You know, they always tell you if you have a death in the family, do not make big financial decisions in the first year. But Scott, Prop 19 doesn't really respect that advice, does it?
No, I mean, Prop 19, you have to move in within the first year. You have to claim it as your primary residence. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made very quickly. And honestly, there was a lot of decisions that had to be made when Prop 19 went into effect. It went into effect what, Susan? I'm blanking on the date.
I think it was February 15th
yes,
of the following
you're right.
year. So they finished counting the votes in December, and it went into effect in February, in the middle of a pandemic, over the Christmas holiday. Well, that wasn't great. People couldn't reach a lawyer, people couldn't reach a government office. And this just enormous change. And the assessors have really had to deal with the brunt of this, because it creates a lot of extra work for them that didn't exist before. But worse, they're having to go out there and make these calls and write these letters and talk to grieving families and ask them, well, you've inherited your parents' house. Are you moving in? You have 1 year. Are you moving in? And people they're just aghast that the law has changed like this. It's so vicious. It's just so difficult for people to deal with this. And we have to talk about the effect on apartments and affordable housing in California. It's a big deal that there isn't enough affordable housing in California. Well, some of the affordable housing is in older apartment buildings that are owned by mom and pop landlords. And they've had a long relationship with the tenants. Sometimes it's below market rents because everything is working for everybody. Well, if the mom and pop generation passes and their kids inherit the building, doesn't matter whether anybody moves in, there is no exclusion for income property. And as a result, the whole building is reassessed to market value. And now you have to make that business work. And maybe those rents are under rent control and you can't raise the rent to pay those taxes. What's going to happen? Well, the building's going to be sold because it's not a viable business with that new tax bill all at once. So if the building is sold, then the tenants get evicted and the building probably gets demolished and something else goes up. And how does that help anybody? We could lose probably half the affordable housing in California in 1 generation because of this. And what happens to the small businesses? That's another whole story. We have a call from Eileen in San Francisco. Hi, Eileen. How are you today?
Hi, good. So I believe Howard Jarvis has a membership of like 250,000 members.
Mhm.
Have all those members been able to return the, a signature signed petition?
We have sent it out and a bunch of them came back. I don't have an exact count for you on exactly how many were sent back by the members, but yes, we sent them out. And we also printed the petition in our newsletter, Taxing Times. So you could cut it out of the little newspaper on newsprint. You could cut it out, you could copy it, you could fill it out right on the newsprint and send it back in. So we've been really reaching out to all of our people, but we need your help because we obviously need more than 250,000. Are you a member? I hope you're a member.
I have been in the past. But
Eileen, we need you. Come on back.
I'm thinking that, I wonder if there could be volunteers to phone back to those people if that haven't responded yet, because maybe they're just not reading their mail or something. I'm not sure.
Well, we are reaching out to them. I appreciate the idea. We'll look into phone banking, but we certainly need everyone to let everyone know in California. We need everyone in California. Thank you for the call. We need everyone in California to find out about this in a very short period of time because we need those petitions back in the middle of January to get them organized to take them to the county offices. So this can work and this tax increase can be reversed. It can be reversed, but it's going to take everybody working together to do this. It's going to take what Proposition 13 had, which is people realizing that they could lose their property, that their kids could lose their house. Nobody wants that. You know, people work for 30 years to pay off those mortgages, and many people in many communities do not have a long history of property ownership in their family going back generations. And they are now getting on the economic ladder and acquiring property and acquiring income property and building something that is generational wealth. And Prop 19 comes along and kicks everybody off the ladder. Because what happens is you have a house that, let's say, has an assessed value of $300,000 and somebody builds a sports stadium or somebody gentrifies or whatever's happening, or it's just inflation, just property values in California. And now the $300,000 house is worth $1 million. And when that's inherited, if the child doesn't move into it or if it's a rental house, reassessed to market value. And somebody's got to come up with the cash to pay that every year. This is worse than an estate tax. An estate tax is once. Property tax every year as a condition of keeping what you already own. You're listening to the Repeal the Death Tax Petition Party. We are on a crusade here to reverse the tax on death that was hidden inside Proposition 19. Go to repealthedeathtax.com. You're here with Susan Shelley and Scott Kaufman from the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and we are working really hard on this. We are determined to get the word out. So let's talk a little bit about small businesses. Now, a family-owned small business has had a rough go in California. It's been tough, especially like restaurants and businesses that weren't allowed to be open during COVID. So people hung on by their fingernails. They went into debt. They waited it out. They're back in business. Everything is back on track, but they have a lot of expenses and a lot of bills to pay. And then the older generation passes away. The kids inherit the business, reassessed to market value. To market value. And now the kids have to come up with 1% of that market value as the base of property taxes, and then there's bonds and local charges added onto that. And that's every year. Not like an estate tax, which is once, it's every year. And people can't do it. So what happens to those small businesses? What happens to those little restaurants in your community that you're so fond of? Out they go. And some corporation buys the property because who can pay these taxes? And that's how people get destroyed in California. That's how you lose the character of your neighborhood. That's how you lose your neighbors. That's how families get pushed out of the state. It's not right. It is not right. And it wasn't necessary. You know, the way that this passed was kind of a deal in Sacramento. Those deals that they do in back rooms when nobody's really looking. And who was in the deal, Scott, to make this happen?
It was the California Association of Realtors. It was the California Professional Firefighters. It was the legislature. And I will say, to the realtors' credit, they initially did not have this in their plan. This was added later. They tried to pass. There's three parts to this, right? There's the portability part of Prop 19 that allows you to take your Prop 13 with you if you're over 55 and those sorts of things, and that's fine. They tried that before and it didn't pass, and it kind of became clear that they had defined revenue for the legislature. The legislature and the special interests were not going to let this thing through unless they got them some revenue. And this is what was decided. This was the deal. This is the revenue you get for us, and that's the deal.
But how much revenue did they get in the fire department?
Well, the firefighters got zero. For the last few years, they've got nothing. And it sounds like they're going to continue to get nothing because, there's really three parts to Prop 19. There was the portability. That's what we call that's the part that was sold to you. You 55 or older, you can move, you can take your Prop 13 with you. There was this part, the intergenerational transfer. And then there was a part for firefighters. And there's this complicated funding formula for that where the 55 and over thing, the moving, that's seen as a revenue loss because those people would have been paying higher property taxes were it not for Prop 19. And there's the intergenerational transfer, which is a revenue gain because those people are getting reassessed when they inherit homes. And the difference, if there's a cost savings to the state that results from this, that money is supposed to be deposited into an account for firefighters. Well, the problem is people write off. Property taxes are going up. You're getting reassessed. You're getting taxed out of your homes. Property taxes are going up, but you're just writing them off on your income taxes because you can do that. And since people are writing it off on their income taxes, there's no revenue there's no revenue gain for the state, and the firefighters get nothing.
They get nothing. They get nothing. So who's gaining from this? We've got a brand new tax on people who have just lost a parent, and everybody's getting nothing from it. This is very discouraging. This is very discouraging. You can call us at 415-808-5600. 415-808-5600 and help us fix this problem. One of the things I hear from people in California so often is, what can we do? As they're packing their U-Haul, what can we do? Well, we can do a lot of things because we have the powers of direct democracy ever since 1911 in California. We have the power of the initiative, and the initiative is the power to write the law as a voter and get signatures and put it on the ballot and pass it. And then it's just as much a law as if the legislature and the governor did it. That's the initiative process. We also have the referendum, which is the right to reverse a law that the legislature and the governor have passed. If we don't like it, we can put that on the ballot. You're going to see a couple of those on your November ballot next year because there are people who didn't like what the legislature did and they want the voters to speak on it. And of course, the third direct democracy power is the recall, which was put in place because sometimes you need that. Sometimes your government is not performing in your interests and you need that. So this is the initiative. Prop 13 was an initiative. Repeal the death tax is an initiative. The way it works is we wrote it with our team of lawyers. We wrote it and we put it on a petition and we filed it with the Attorney General's office, and they wrote a title and summary and we printed that on the petition and we are circulating it. And you can sign it. A lot of people ask us, why are there only 2 signature blocks on our petition? And the reason is because we're encouraging people to make copies of it and distribute it to their friends. If you have a printer, if you have a copy machine, you can make copies of this petition and hand them out to people. You can be a circulator and you can hand the petition around. If we had a longer petition with, let's say it was 14-inch paper and it had more signature blocks, and somebody put it on a copy machine and it got accidentally reduced to letter size, none of that would be valid. And the reason for that is state law is very picky about font sizes and margin sizes and everything else. So we have to be careful that the instructions are clear and that they always work for everybody. And that's why there's only 2 signature blocks. So I know that's inconvenient for people who want to go out with a clipboard, but please bear with us because you can send the link to everybody all over the state simultaneously, and they can do this at the kitchen table They can sign it. They can have one other voter in the household sign it. And then you can send it back to us. And that's how we're going to get this done. We've got advertising, we've got word of mouth, we've got all kinds of things going on. And we've got you listening to this program right now. And you can tell your friends, call us at 415-808-5600, 415-808-5600. And be sure to text this link to everybody, repealthedeathtax.com. They can watch the show. They can watch the rerun of the show later, the show we're doing right now. And they can listen on KSFO, 560 KSFO in the Bay Area, and KSFO.com everywhere else. So wherever they are in California, everyone should be concerned about this. Even if you don't own a home, even if your parents don't own a home. Everybody who rents in a small building owned by a family, everybody who wants to look out for small businesses in their neighborhoods, everybody who cares about the future of California and not having people forced out of the state. We care about you. We care about you, and we are doing something. And we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and take your calls. We're at 415-808-5600. This is the Repeal the Death Tax Petition Party. I'm Susan Shelley, and we'll be right back after this.
We have a delay in Fremont from a crash. It's between an SUV and a car, South 80 at Dakota Road. Two left lanes tied up. You're backed up from Mount Verona Boulevard. And then Burlingame, a crash, some injuries involved in this one. South 101 at Broadway. Everybody's off on the shoulder, but you're backed up from SFO as crews work to clear this up. That's your traffic. I'm Brian Drake.
This report is sponsored by Jackson Hewitt Tax Services, home of the Money Today guarantee. They're playing jingle bells at Jackson Hewitt starting December 11th. Get a holiday loan for up to $1,000. Visit jacksonhewitt.com. Early refund advance offered to eligible clients. Application required. Finance charge applies. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Dive into the seamless world of premium nationwide coverage, free activation, and contract-free plans with Consumer Cellular, now at your local Target. Plus, we offer 100% US-based customer support and a risk-free guarantee and unlimited talk and text plans starting at $20 a month. Now let me introduce you to our latest gem, the Iris Flip. It's all the phone and camera you need. Plus, it features a user-friendly design, Wi-Fi and GPS capabilities, all powered by our reliable 4G LTE network, making it your perfect flip phone companion. But here's the best part. When you purchase the Iris Flip at Target from now to December 16th, you'll get $10 off. Yep, you'll get the Iris Flip for only $39.99. Visit your nearest Target to grab the full scoop on this incredible deal. Seize the moment and make the switch today. Limited time offer, only available at Target.
Hey guys, at Prime Mail Medical, their mission is to provide you with the medical care you need to improve your ED, low T, and incontinence. With years dedicated to improving the lifestyle of their patients in the Bay Area, Prime Mail Medical strives to improve your love life and overall health. Listen to Dr. Robert Rowley.
We have virtually every medication known to man to help men. We specialize in acoustic wave therapy, sublingual lozenges, which bypass the digestive system, making them faster and more effective, injectable medications, and testosterone treatment for those patients who need it. Impotence problems can be treated in just one visit.
Why wait? Don't lose hope. Call now. Get a PSA test, testosterone test, Doppler ultrasound, and a full year of free visits for just $99. Call now, 415-761-4037. That's 415-761-4037, 415-761-4037, or go to primemailmedical.com.
Hi, I'm Bill.
And I'm Kathleen, and we're the owners of American Vision Windows and Baths.
People are always asking to have this American Vision experience in another product, and baths was a kind of a natural progression.
I like the fact that they installed Kohler tubs. Getting this hydrotherapy walk-in tub is definitely going to change Devin's life for the better. It's a relief to know that my mom will be safe. When you have safety and beauty coalesce, that's what I get excited about.
It's all American Vision, and we're very excited about it.
Every time I walk in there, I think,
I can't believe this is our bathroom.
Walk-in tubs are great for seniors, and a tub and shower conversion is a quick way to upgrade your home. Do it in as little as 1 day. Our professionals replace your old tub in as little as a day, and you save thousands on a shower replacement and turn your ugly bath into something you can be proud of. For a limited time, 0% interest and 0 payments for 18 months. Call 855-908-6152 or visit AmericanVisionBaths.com. For all offers, see website for details. On approved credit offer expires 12/31/2023. CSLB 778326.
This is Michael David from Seattle. I'm 51 years old, and 6 months ago, I started taking Andro 400 to increase my testosterone. Since then, I've lost 35 pounds of fat, and my waist went from size 38 to size 32. I have more energy, and I look and feel 20 years younger. And now my wife tells me I have to take Andro 400.
Hi, this is Sherry. My husband started taking Andro 400 a few months ago, and wow, has he ever changed. He's no longer a couch potato, and he actually likes to go out and do things again. Best of all, he lost his gut, and is he looking good? All I have to say about that is,
Andro 400, a natural way to increase your testosterone. Guys, if you'd like to lose your belly fat, gain energy and muscle, and feel like you did years ago, try Andro 400, the safe, effective, and inexpensive way to boost your testosterone. Andro400.com.
Sam knows when people want some pizza, they search for pizza near me. Sam also knows if Sam's Pizza doesn't prominently appear when that map returns with pizza shops, well, then Sam's Pizza is not on the map.
Cumulus Boost can help by consistently managing Sam's online listings, managing reviews, and dozens of other things the search engine uses to put businesses on the map. Cumulus Boost helps make sure Sam gets the click. Cumulus Boost. Get on the map. CUMULUS Boost.com.
Talk Radio 560 KSFO. Like us on Facebook at 560 KSFO and stay up to date on the latest events. Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Welcome back to the Repeal the Death Tax Petition Party. I'm Susan Shelley, Vice President of Communications for the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We are taking your calls at 415-808-5600. You can go to repealthedeathtax.com and join the party. Get the petition. Tell your friends. They can all listen everywhere in the state at KSFO.com. Be sure you text them, call them, email them, let them know. Repealthedeathtax.com and KSFO.com. And that's all you need to tell them. We're going to take some calls. Let's talk to Randy on line 6. Randy,
Hi.
are you there? Hi.
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, my wife and I have definitely already signed the petition, and you'll know why when I tell you our horror story with Prop 19. My mother, who we took care of until she passed away, had not only the home she lived in, but 2 homes that she had kept with my father that they bought when they were very young, one in Carmel and one in SoCal, California. And I think they paid, less than $20,000 for those homes, kept them up over the years, rented them out to families at very reasonable prices throughout these last decades. And my wife and I took care of my mom in her primary home until she passed away 6 months after Prop 19 went into effect. When I saw that it had passed, I about passed out when I realized the ramifications of it, because she was paying less than $3,000 in annual property taxes on those 2 rental homes because she had owned them for so long and was able to rent them out at very reasonable price monthly rents to families for years. Well, when she passed away, my wife and I decided to move into her principal residence since we're both have disabilities. So we were able to move into the home, her primary home, where she passed. But the rental houses, of course, got reassessed and at the peak of the market because she died in September of 2021. So the houses that they got so reasonably all those years ago, one was reassessed at 1.3 million, the other at 1.2 million. And they're just little subdivision homes that were built in the 60s. But because of the high prices of homes, you can imagine how high the property taxes when you add in school bonds, sewer fees, etc. Well, you know, we were working on the trust and so forth. And a number of months later, finally, the assessor's office sends the tax bill. But what they did is they sent them at the same time as the tax bills for the coming year. So we not only got the the taxes from the date of her death until the present, but also the taxes for the coming year. We had to pay out over $52,000 in property taxes on our homes, all at the same time. And going forward, we have to pay over $35,000 a year on those two rental houses. So needless to say, for my wife and I to survive, we had to increase the rent to over $4,000 a month on the two homes, making it much more difficult for people to rent them. But because of the high income taxes we have to pay due to Prop 19, it takes over 5 months for us to break even when you take into account, you know, the high cost of homeowners insurance on the homes and rental. We also have renters insurances, and you know, when you add that to the property taxes, it's like $16,000 or $18,000 a year. And so, you know, we're not even breaking even till almost half the year is done. So it's just a terrible burden on us. It's over $30,000 in additional property taxes that we weren't going to be paying had Prop 19 passed. So it's been a disaster. And we're trying to tell everybody that we know to sign this petition and try to get this on the ballot for next year.
Well, thank you for doing that. And I do want to let you know that this measure is retroactive. So if we can get it on the ballot and we can get it passed, everyone who was reassessed for a parent-child transfer would get their original assessed value back. It would be under the old rules, a home of any value plus up to $1 million of assessed value of other property. So it is retroactive. So if you know anybody else who's been in this situation and is very concerned about it, let them know to sign this petition and help us get it on the ballot. Thank you very much for your call, Randy. Greatly appreciated. Let's talk to Edward in Millbrae. Hi, Edward. Line 1.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Hi. So, yeah, I mean, my parents died, my father died in 2020, and then my mother died in April of 2021. And so similar to Randy, we've had to deal with, you know, the escape taxes, which is the supplemental taxes in addition to the current property taxes. But so, you know, I've been behind this petition and been putting it on Nextdoor and Facebook. I've been going door to door, going to people at work. But I guess I would like some words of encouragement, because I'm not sure if there's enough publicity being put out there. You know, I feel like this is really a small grassroots effort. I just wanted some kind of encouragement to know that, you know, there's a lot of people out there trying to get this done.
Well, there are. You know, we have over 9,000 volunteers who are signed up with us. We have 250,000 members of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. We are going to be doing a big advertising campaign, statewide radio, starting this month. We are working on it. We don't have enormous resources. You know, many times when someone does a statewide initiative in California, it's backed by special interests. And there's a lot of money in special interests. And that's because if you're fleecing taxpayers, there's a lot of money available for it. If you're protecting taxpayers, not so much. So you can donate. Everybody who's listening to this can go to repealthedeathtax.com and kick in $10, $15, $25, whatever you can. and help us because we are trying to raise $50,000 for additional. We have a big radio campaign plan, but we want to do additional radio. And we are trying to raise an additional $50,000 as fast as we can to get that done for the final stretch. Thank you very much for the call, Edward. Greatly appreciated. Let's talk to Glenn on line 2. Hi, Glenn. You had a question, a comment?
I have a comment, Susan, and I'd like to add one more angle to the good reasons you've been discussing. The actual Prop 19 appears word for word in our state constitution. It's blatantly worded to deceive, which should help convince people to get it on the ballot again. Anybody can read for themselves the actual propaganda preserved in our constitution. Most Americans would agree that it's an outrage if voters are deliberately fooled by deceptive wording of a law. So I'd like to remind people trying to get signatures about the specific deceptions that they can read online themselves. First, they hit important facts from busy, hurried voters. Have you ever seen a constitutional amendment before that didn't line out the law that was being changed? This is always done so the voters know what's being deleted. You see the words with a line through them. In this case, the clever authors of this proposition just left the old law in the Constitution unchanged in Section 2, where it still appears. Instead of being lined out, they just tagged on a new Section 2.1 saying anything to the contrary is canceled. They didn't want the uninformed voter to know that what the existing law was that was being deleted. Of course, parents already could pass their home to their children without tax increases. And those over 55 already could hand down their home's tax bases in their own county. So the voters didn't fully understand what they were losing while being baited with relatively minor improvements. And secondly, the language claims to do one thing and then does the opposite. Their introductory paragraph states that the new law will limit tax increases on family homes and protect the right of parents to pass their home to children. This implies that without this proposition, the voters will not get these benefits. The legal wording then went on to do the opposite, reducing the existing rights of parents to pass their homes to their children by adding radically new taxes, making the family home unaffordable for many. Third, besides hiding the deletions and using deceptive language, they used inflammatory language to fool the voter. Quoting our Constitution, the intent of the proposition is to eliminate unfair tax loopholes used by East Coast investors, celebrities, wealthy non-California residents, and trust fund heirs.
Glenn, you are so right. This was the most deceptive campaign that we have ever seen. Thank you very much for the call. We appreciate it. Let's talk to Julianne. Hi, Julianne, line 3.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. Yeah, I was one of the volunteers on the last go around with the petition, and I got a few signatures. However, many people asked me about the portability, losing the portability.
Oh, we're not losing the portability. We're not losing the portability.
That needs to really be emphasized because I had 6 people who would not sign it. They were all in their, at 55 plus. And we're concerned that they couldn't, move closer to their children as the years went by and they would need to depend on them. So if that portability is still in there, then
it is absolutely there. That's why we call this the Repeal the Death Tax Act, because the only part of Prop 19 that we are changing is the part that lost the parent-child transfer exclusion.
Oh, terrific. Terrific. Okay. Now that that's clear.
You can go right back to those 6 people and make them tell 6 people just for slowing it down because time is ticking and we need every signature. We're at 415-808-5600. This is the Repeal the Death Tax Petition Party show. I'm Susan Shelley with the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, and I'm joined by Scott Kaufman, the Legislative Director of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association in our Sacramento office. So what do you think, Scott? Do you think people are confused by that they don't know that we're just fixing the one part of Prop 19?
Well, if they are, we'll say it again. If we're not touching that part, you can read the initiative yourself. Because it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, we had the cut it pretty short, so it's only 5 paragraphs, so you can read it. I think it's important to mention too, though, that you already had portability. So what the law before was that you could move if you're over 55, severely disabled, or the victim of a natural disaster. You could move and take your Prop 13 with you to a property of equal or lesser value, and the county you were moving to had to accept the transfer. A lot of Northern California counties didn't, but most Southern California counties did. What Prop 19 changed is that you can now do it up to 3 times. You can do it to a house of greater value, although there's a value calculation in there similar to the intergenerational transfer, the moving in, to satisfy that requirement. And all the counties have to accept it. So it certainly is a gain, but you had it before, and we're not taking it away either way.
Exactly. So let's talk to Henry in Mountain View. Henry, are you there? Line 5.
Susan, I was talking to a neighbor about this, and I'm a homeowner, and I don't know quite how to answer his objection, but he pointed out that this amounts to a big subsidy of the new generation. And for people who don't have kids, I mean, it makes them a preferred group over everybody else. And his other point was that it really increases income inequality. And, you know, it's hard to refute that. And, I mean, and then he said, you know, if kids don't have enough money to pay the taxes, they can sell the property and they still come out just fine. You know, they make, you know, $1 million in appreciation. So I just want to hear what your viewpoint is on it, because, you know, I had to kind of scratch my head and said, yeah, I mean, these are legitimate points. And, you know, everybody, I mean, special interest are people who have kids, and I have kids. But, you know, why should my kids get, you know, a tax-free kind of situation where somebody next door who has no kids doesn't get it? And it made me think.
Well, I appreciate the question. Thank you very much. There's a philosophical view that some people have that property doesn't really belong to the people who earn it, and that the people who earn it should not be able to decide what happens to it. And the government should step in at various points every year with income tax and at death and various other points. The government should step in and decide who needs more than they, who has more than they need and who needs more than they have, and the government should make it fair. That's called collectivism. Now, in the United States, we were founded on the opposite of collectivism. We're the first country in the history of the world that was founded on individual rights. So you have the right to the fruits of your labor. And if you spend your life working and paying off mortgages and investing and operating a small business and investing in rental property, being a housing provider, if you do that for your whole life and you want that property, you want that business to pass to your children, why is it fair for the government to come in and say, we want to raise the taxes so high because of your death? We want to raise the taxes so high that what you wanted to give to your children is going to go to some corporation that's going to swoop in and buy it all. How is that fair? It's true that if people sell the property, they have the cash, but the cash loses value to inflation. The asset appreciates and somebody else owns it. So this is a philosophical difference. And Prop 13 limits increases in the assessed value of your property. So it limits how high your property taxes can go. And remember that property tax is not like income tax. Income tax is once on the way in. Sales tax is once on the way out. Property tax every year as a condition of keeping what you already own. In essence, the government's coming in every year and saying, here's how much we're going to charge you to keep what you earned. That's very different. That is a big infringement on your freedom if they raise those taxes too high. It's fine to have property taxes. It's fine to fund the schools and the streets and the landscaping. It's perfectly fine. But there's a point at which people are taxed out of their property. And if you support that, you are not someone who believes in property rights. You are someone who believes in collectivism, which you can do if you want to, but it never ends well. individual rights is what gives you freedom and prosperity. And property rights are a big part of that. So this is a question of degree. It's not that they can't have property taxes. It's that when you come in and you say that people who have been paying increasing property taxes, maybe they only go up 2% a year, but they are increasing year after year. People who have been paying that, investing in the community, people who are residents of California, tax-paying citizens, residents of California, raising their family, part of the community. You want to tax them when somebody dies so that they have to leave. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think people have the right to keep the fruits of their labor, to take care of their families, to work hard and know that their work is not going to be seized at the end of the year, at the end of their life, the end of their parents' life. I think that's just not the way that we need to run California. My personal opinion, and the opinion of many other people, including the founders of the United States. There you go. Let's talk to Doug on line 1. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Susan. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thanks for calling.
Susan, what I called about is, can an uncle pass on property without having this increase in taxes?
No, it was never the case that there was an exclusion for anybody except parents and children and grandparents and grandchildren in the situation where the children's parents are deceased. There has never been an exclusion for uncles or brothers or sisters or nieces or nephews. So that is a change of ownership, and that would count as a taxable event, and that would be reassessed. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but that was always the law in California.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you for calling, and be sure to tell everyone you know, repealthedeathtax.com. You can call us at 415-808-5600. Let's talk to Vaughn in San Francisco. Hi, Vaughn.
Hey there. Thanks for everything that you're doing, Susan. I was and I loved your explanation about collectivism. That was wonderful. One thing I was just, as I was listening here, I was just reflecting. If you think the taxes are high in the state of California right now, I can't imagine what they'd be like if the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association didn't exist. Like, it would just, I think it would boggle people's mind where the state would be if you guys didn't exist. So, thank you for, yeah, absolutely. I was reflecting on something earlier in the week. When I turn on the television and hear the phrase affordable housing all the time. When I look in the newspaper, I see the phrase affordable housing all the time. And it started to occur to me, we might as well be talking about the Loch Ness Monster. Everybody talks about affordable housing and nobody sees it. I don't know where it is. I look and I hear about it and I go to these projects and I think, wow, if I made about 3 times what I make, maybe I could afford that affordable housing. It's insane, but I'll tell you, there's that small part, and I've heard you talk about this on your radio show. There's one sliver of affordable housing in California that actually does exist, and it's in areas that have rent control, stringent rent control specifically. And regardless of what somebody's opinion are, about rent control, or they don't like it, the reality is it does exist, and we do have a lot of people that have fairly affordable rent. And it's small housing providers like our family. We own a duplex. The rents are very, very affordable because of rent control. And the only thing that has allowed us to operate has been Proposition 58. When the property transfers from parent to child, the property taxes don't go up, which allows our low rent tenants to stay in place. As that gets unwound, right, and these people, the buildings get sold, the tenants get forced out. My question to you is, what happens then? Like 40% of the rental units in California are owned by mom and pop, small rental people. What happens to that massive portion of the population in the state when they lose the low rent housing? What happens next?
Well, it's a game of musical chairs, isn't it? Every time a building is taken out, every time those units are withdrawn from the market because someone gets out of the rental housing business because they can't make it with the new higher taxes, there are fewer units, and there are more people chasing fewer units. And of course, other policies in California have been driving jobs out of the state and companies out of the state, which does not help because half of the affordability problem is what you're making as a salary. And if you can't make a good salary in California and the housing prices are skyrocketing and we're evicting people from affordable units because Prop 19 is irrationally raising the property taxes, then we're going to have more people who are homeless, more people who are forced out of the state, more people who are doubled up in apartments in a way that's not what they're built for, not what they're safe for. It's a declining quality of life for everybody. And what are we accomplishing with this? What are we accomplishing by driving housing providers out of the housing providing business? Have you reached the point where you might have to sell those units?
Absolutely. We've already done the math. And well, one of two things is going to happen. The Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and all the volunteers are collectively going to be successful, or we will be selling, one or the other. So, and again, you know, I know you guys have a tremendous amount of momentum right now, which I'm excited about. But, you know, regardless of how this turns out, I really appreciate the fact that somebody's trying to do something, specifically you guys. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Vaughn. And let me just put in a plug that everyone should join the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. If you're not already a member of this great member-supported organization, go to hjta.org and join the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. It has been great being with you. Be sure to tell everybody to come back next Friday at 6 p.m., KSFO and KSFO.com. I just have one more thing to say, and that's ad paid for by Repeal the Death Tax, a project of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. See you next time.